Yeah.
Okay.
Bleeding Purple Podcast.
Welcome to Minnesota! Woo!
Straight cash, homie.
48-4 Dirt Show.
Adrian Peterson is loose! Oh my heavens! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Why do you even ponder passing? Let's go to work, huh? Let's go to work! How do you like that?
5 shot 3, 1, 2, 3, fire!
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in to Bleeding Purple, a podcast about the Minnesota Vikings. My name is Tyler Haig, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Adam Patrick. I clicked the wrong thing and rewound it instead of turning it down. Hey, bud, how are you? Sorry, little production issue over here.
Oh,
Usually
I'm
not a producer.
I'm good. I'm just recovering. I'm just still in shock that the Vikings didn't trade for Antonio Brown. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we all were, really. All jokes aside, though, seriously, can you believe what they gave him away for?
No,
That's
just
insane.
because I felt like they just wanted to get rid of him.
Yes. And he,
They're just
torpedoed.
All right.
It's incredible that although...
I don't think they wanted another Le'Veon Bell situation, so they're just like, just get him out the door.
And he played it perfectly. He did. He was
yeah.
as loud as he needed to be. He torpedoed his trade value. He got moved when he wanted to get moved. He kind of screwed the team that he was leaving.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, dude, that was like chef stuff from it. That was very impressive. So yeah, all things considered, if we're looking at the
Much
Raiders,
smarter than maybe like a Terrell Owens.
Yeah, I think he played it better than that.
Had zero leverage.
No, none whatsoever. And I mean, we kind of were saying the same thing about AB, but all of a sudden it was, I mean, in a span of how many weeks was that? That wasn't even like a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
And
as soon as the stuff about him getting traded to the Bills came out and how he said, "I don't think so," then you knew that the cards were in his.
He won.
Hand.
He had won.
Yeah.
He already won.
Yeah.
And then Oakland, by the way, who the Mac thing, I tweeted this the other day. The Mac thing, I still don't understand all the way. I'm sure there's reasons that I'm never going to know for that. But they wound up turning Amari Cooper into a first-round pick and got AB
Antonio Brown for a third and a fifth. Yeah. And they still have all 3 of their first-round picks. The rumor is that they're going to try and trade up to get Kyler Murray.
No, you stop
and sign
it.
Le'Veon Bell.
I heard the Bell thing. That would make sense. Do you think that makes them, I don't want to say contenders, obviously, but they're a much better team, obviously,
Well, they're
today
better, yeah.
than they were.
But I mean, they're also in the
last
same
season.
division as the Chiefs and the Chargers, so.
Bing, bang, boom. They still are going to be mediocre, even if they get Le'Veon Bell.
But I mean, Antonio Brown in Las Vegas in 2020 is going to be pretty fun.
That's the jam, and that's the play. And those
That's
are
why
the
they're doing
jerseys
all
that are
this.
going to say 100%,
Yeah.
dude. 100%. And this is the other thing is that they make moves. Granted, I still can't really wrap my brain around Mac, but there's reasons. They saw this from the minute they took over. They were like, here's the plan. Here's the 5-year deal. And this is getting rid of this, getting rid of that, getting rid of...
They might have even been setting up for someone else, maybe like Odell Beckham or something. But, Antonio Brown was on the market, so it just worked out that way.
Okay, sounds great. We'll take that guy. Yeah, because these guys are asking too much for him. What do you think, Odell Beckham? Do you think he gets moved before the beginning of the season? Because he's still getting shopped, evidently.
I think that would be stupid because I think the Giants would owe a ton of money if they traded him.
That is the most important part about the Antonio Brown
I don't
thing
even
is
know
how much they are paying. The Steelers are going to pay him.
Yeah.
They're going to pay him more than any other player who actually is playing on their team.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
That's how much they want to get rid of him.
Wow, eating $20 million. Let's talk a little bit. After all, this is a Vikings podcast, so we'll set aside the national stuff. Kind of boring for the Vikings. Free agency kind of sucks right now.
Yeah.
A little bit.
They have like $5 to spend.
Yeah, well, and that was the best. $5 million and the Jets have $95 million. Large discrepancy there. Obviously, 2 teams in very different places. They make a couple moves to maybe get some wiggle room cap space wise. They cut Mike Remmers.
Yep.
And decline the option, I guess, is the way we should phrase it, for Andrew Sendejo. saving roughly, what was it, like $9 million or something between the two?
$10 million.
Okay. And then tender offers to Anthony Harris, and Rashad Hill.
Yeah,
so then they come back down a little bit.
So with Harris, I think the tender's like $3 million. So, but if somebody signs him, then they get a second round pick from that team. So yes. I doubt that someone's going to sign him. And then with Rashad Hill, they gave him an original tender, and since he's undrafted, the Vikings wouldn't get anything in return if he was signed by another team, but they would also be able to match the whatever offer that he was given. But I don't think someone's going to be like Rashad Hill's not on the top of somebody's list.
I think that is accurate. I think you are correct there.
But I think many people saw Sendejo and Remmers not being on this roster next year.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise. It was just waiting for that to happen. The deadline for Sendejo was tomorrow, the 12th.
Where he was going to be doing a roster bonus.
Something was going to be known, yeah. The option had to be, accepted or not by tomorrow. So something was going to happen, and it did.
Definitely.
And no one's surprised.
I was kind of hoping a little bit for some trade action where they were going to make a move trade-wise and then kind of figure out the rest of the pieces afterwards. I was kind of thinking that was why this whole thing had, taken as long as it had, or why we were not hearing reports of these things as they were going to happen. No trades, just the moves. Still waiting to hear on Everson Griffin, and there's a lot of stuff that still needs to happen here. Do you expect them to make a trade? Do you expect a splashy move, or does this feel? It's starting to feel to me like they might just be like, "We're good, dude. We got a lot of money tied up right now."
I think we talked about this too, a couple weeks ago, or at least I did, where I said it's probably going to be not that exciting of an off season for the Vikings, where they're not going to make a bunch of splash moves and trades and all that stuff because they have a lot of pieces already and they don't have a lot of money to spend. So it's not surprising that they didn't do a whole lot. A bunch of offensive linemen were signed today, and a bunch have been traded for. Vikings have been involved in none of these moves. Mm-hmm. So that shows you just their focus might just be adding players to the draft because one, that's all they can afford, and that just might be the way that they want to go.
Yeah.
Judging by being burned in the past by Remmers and Brief and Alex Boone and Andre Smith.
And because that is 100%, that's the other thing to keep in mind is even though the Vikings are not active in free agency, this is a good thing long term because they're not trying to plug issues on they're not forcing it. They're not overpaying for guys who are you're gonna have to cut in 2 years. But a lot of
people are today.
A ton of people are. A ton of people are overpaying. And again,
Jameson Crowder just got $40 million today from the Jets.
Let's talk a little bit. I kind of want to. Maybe we should wait. No, let's do it right now. Nick Foles. Foles got 4 years.
More money than Cousins.
Yeah, $88 million.
Not per year, but total.
Yeah.
He's not going to get all that money. I think only 50 of it is
50. Yes, $50 million guaranteed, which is whatever. That makes more sense. Why? First of all, why do you give him
MVP, man?
I guess, but who else is paying him that? Who are they?
Jaguars.
Who are? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But who are the Jaguars outbidding for that? Because you think they could have had him for around $15 million, maybe, or is this a move that they're like, he's our guy, we want to show everybody that he's our guy and he's our starter, so we're paying him starter money?
I think that this might be how much he was going to cost, and what quarterback. I think he made $20 million, or he had a $20 million option this year, so he didn't want to take probably anything
much less than that, if any less,
especially with the way he's performed recently in the playoffs and stuff like that. So,
he's got a lot of equity there, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think he gave him any sort of discount. But the Jaguars might have been one of the only teams that was going to give him that kind of money. So Nick Foles was like, "Yes,
I'll take it." Sounds great. And also, we have to keep in mind, we're trying to figure out what the Jaguars are doing. That's not a good practice to even get in.
But it's setting up a classic overpaying for 100%. A quarterback signing, so many. Brock Osweiler.
It screams Brock Osweiler. That's actually a great point. Talk to me in 3 years when the Jaguars are horrible again and they're drafting a bad quarterback again.
Scott Mitchell way back in the day.
And poor
Elvis Gerback. I'm just dropping classic names.
Elvis Grbac. I have not heard or thought about that name in a very, very, very long time.
But yeah, with the Vikings, I just don't like their trade assets. Like, they can't really trade Everson Griffin, especially because a couple teams have already traded for pass rushers, and that kind of those are the teams that were looking for a pass rusher, and they're kind of out of the market now.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes the Vikings, and even if they trade him, they're probably going to get like a 6th-round pick.
Exactly, because what team is going to give up any kind of asset for somebody that, if they wait long enough, they could probably try and sign after he gets cut anyways.
And I saw stuff today about how teams were calling about Trey Waynes and Xavier Rhodes, but some recent stuff that went on makes me think that none of those guys are going to get traded.
They're going to want as much depth there as they can possibly have. Yeah. I would agree with you there. It's a great point to bring up is, what are your tradable assets? What are the moves that you could possibly make? And at
Treadwell.
At this point, it's either mediocre guys who don't have much of a market, or guys that you're possibly going to need in the very near future. Well, even that, I don't know what kind of a market he's going to have. Yeah. You know, I mean, he's a good player. Somebody will take him, but what if...
He's getting up there.
Yeah, man. And if... It's so hard to compare different deals to different deals, but, like, Amari Cooper gets a 1st-round pick, Brown for 3, but what are you going to get for Rudolph? I mean, it's...
Brown's a 4-time All-Pro, and Amari Cooper was still on his rookie contract.
And so he's not going to even come close to anything.
It's like just, that. So, we see all these we see all these trades happening and stuff, and we're just like, oh, why don't the Vikings do anything? And it's just like, well, they don't really have a lot to trade. Mm-hmm. The guys that are valuable on their team are assigned to long-term contracts, so they're not going to trade those guys.
And they want to keep those guys. And that's basically where we're at, where the most valuable trade asset is a cornerback. And you, at this point, I don't think that you could convince your head coach or your general manager to part with.
Definitely not your head coach.
Either of those guys, yeah. So it is kind of boring, but I mean, I think we all show also, because all of these offensive linemen are getting traded and moving, and it's easy because we know that they have issues on the offensive line to think like, God, why aren't they getting involved? But we also are not really sure what we have given the scheme change, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's very possible that they could sign a free agent or two and draft a couple of project guys, and that line could still look markedly better than it did last season just because of the scheme change. So I don't think that people need to freak out about inactivity. In fact, from a payment standpoint, I think they should be celebrating the fact that the Vikings aren't like overpaying for a backup running back, you know?
Sorry, I just had like 19 notifications. I thought someone died or something. It's just like,
I started looking because I was like, what happened? Like, what's he going to talk about right now?
Who's Devin Funchess getting signed or something.
So many different things. So what are...
How many people getting overpaid?
Yeah.
Overpaid.
Let's talk a little bit... Oh, Kyle Rudolph first, before we get into like the big free agent, like brouhaha. Rudolph, his cap hit is too much. We've discussed him being a candidate for restructuring. He basically...
7.5, I think.
Is telling the Star Tribune that, like, yeah, I'd totally do that. They haven't asked me to do that, so, like, we're here this year, and it's going to be great. If you were the Vikings, would you have asked him that? Why haven't the Vikings asked him to restructure?
I don't know if they haven't, because this is football.
That time of year when it's...
when people are playing
smart.
games.
You're smart.
Using the media.
I was used as a pawn just now.
Yes, using the media as a pawn.
Saving me.
Get that out there and be like, oh, I'd take a restructure. Like, even if they haven't, Rudolph's like just throwing it out there, like, hey guys, I'd take it. I'd take some guaranteed money because he doesn't have any.
That's what
he doesn't, because he doesn't have any guaranteed money left on his contract. So he's obviously going to take a contract with guaranteed money.
I'd do that. Sounds good.
I did. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that his agent came out and was like, oh, he's going to be here. They haven't said anything otherwise. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, they're not going to tell you, like, if they're going to release you or not.
Exactly. Hey, we're just going to let you know that in a couple, 3-4 weeks here.
But I do think he's going to stick around, and not 100% because of what he does on the field. Because of what he does off the field too for a team and how involved he is with Minnesota and their other stuff out there,
charity work, etc.
Yeah, I think that factors in a bunch these days, especially with a guy like him he was a captain, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like So I think he'll stick around. They don't have like a timetable to give him a restructure or anything, so that can always happen later on or before the draft or in the summertime or whatever. So they can figure that out. Maybe sign him to an extension that lowers his cap hit. Mm-hmm. Then they can, free up cap room for all those guys to get cut, right before the season. That way they can sign somebody like that. But I think he'll stick around at least for one more year. I don't know why the Vikings would draft a tight end in the first round. I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
There's none that are like who's
there's
what tight ends?
I can't imagine that you're going to be able to draft a tight end in the first round who's going to give you Gronk-like productivity, which to me is
he wasn't even drafted in the first round.
That's what I'm saying. To me, is the only reason you would draft him in the first round. He was never even taken in the first round because you can't see that kind of productivity from a college player. Yeah, man. I don't think I would be upset by a tight end in the first round, but I would definitely, that would not be my favorite move. I could choose many other options that I would like more than a tight end. But I also if they don't take an offensive lineman, I'm not gonna
freak out.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, with Zimmer leading the way, I would think that they would either go offensive line or defense. I don't think. I mean, they have drafted a skill player in the first round with Treadwell, and that worked out very well.
I think that's too fresh in their mind. I don't think they'll do a skill player. But that being said, this is also the same squad that drafted Khalil too, and like that.
Well, they need it.
They did, but I mean, you could argue that they need to take an offensive lineman right now too. Half of Vikings Twitter's arguing.
Yeah, but you don't want to reach for it either. You don't want to overdraft.
Totally, I completely agree with that. And I honestly, tight end would bum me out because that would lead me to believe that they have some kind of other idea for what this offense is going to look like. That would kind of concern me a little bit if you were going to draft a tight end in the first round.
Well,
but
tight ends are also very important in Kubiak offense.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. So. And I guess if you can get a guy who's going to set the edge in your read, run, whatever, like, okay.
Yeah, but I don't think they should draft a tight end who, like, lines up as a receiver for, like, 80% of the time.
100%.
They need, like, a real one.
If you're going to do the Bucky Hodges, Tyler Conklin, if that's your mold, but you're just going to take that guy in the first round, skedaddle. No thanks. That's not the pick. You got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's like that Noah Fant guy. So like somebody like T.J. Hawkinson is probably more their kind of tight end they should look for. Who's a very good blocker and he can catch.
Do you have, aside from tight end, do you have any other, like, is there a pick that would really, like, bug you? That they, a position that they could pick in the first round?
Corner.
I was going to say, don't say kicker, but yeah, corner would, and I mean, it's possible they could do that.
They could draft a safety.
Can't imagine they would. Safety would make sense. Do you think defensive lineman, but I've also been hearing that
probably
you could get
defensive.
you could get a starter in the third round, I'm hearing, there's so much depth at the
I guess if they drafted a
line.
receiver in the first round, I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, we should maybe that's what we'll do before the draft is we'll come up with a ranking, like your top 5, like here are the things that would make me the most angry if they would do this in the first round. Yeah, we'll do that for next week. I got to write that down so I don't forget.
Quarterback.
I would that's where it'd be different. I would love for them to take a quarterback in the first round. I think that would be like the best thing ever.
Well, not in the first round.
Yeah, dude, first round. Light it on fire!
But like, there's 3 quarterbacks that are maybe worthy of a first-round pick? Maybe. And that most of the time, these guys, I feel like they get drafted in the first round just because teams are like, oh, it's a quarterback. And he's one of the best of the class, so he should get drafted in the first round.
That to me, honest to God, is my biggest pet peeve about the whole draft thing is during the season, nobody knows who Wentz is. But leading up to the draft, he is God's gift to football. And I'm not saying that Carson Wentz is like bad, but that blows my mind that a kid who can be that anonymous.
Picks up so much steam.
Pick up so much steam and be the first round, like the first pick overall. It's just, it's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. What else was I going to bring up? Rudolph, we talked about that. All right, let's just talk free agency. Nick Foles, I was shocked by that.
Yeah,
Maybe I shouldn't have been.
Legal tampering kicked off today on Monday.
Yes, legal tampering.
So no official signings or trades yet. I think the new league year begins 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. So that's when everything just like locks into place.
Do you where are you at with the legal tampering? First of all, as calling it legal tampering is the dumbest thing.
Well, they should start it at the combines. What they should really do,
because that's what's happening. And
I
how
love
are we so blind to
I love how when reports happen, they're like, "Well, this began at the combine." Oh, really?
It's amazing. It's gotten to a point now where I'm actually seeing tweets and reports where people are like, they've been discussing this for weeks. Yeah. It's like, you can't do that. So that's breaking the rules.
Hey, if you were going to trade a receiver who wore the number 84
right.
and had blue hair and a blonde mustache, how much?
What is the line? That's just hypothetical. We're being hypothetical. Hypothetically, if we had a player who had a blonde mustache.
In my head, yeah.
What draft value would you give him?
Did you see his Photoshop, though, when he posted that he was in a Raiders uniform or whatever? He had the Photoshop mustache blonde on him.
I just cannot handle. I think the blonde mustache is so bad. It's so bad.
That's probably put the Steelers over the edge. They're just like,
get him out of here.
Get him. He's got a blonde mustache. He's going crazy.
We gotta get him out of town.
Oh,
but
the one
we're
thing
only gonna get a 3rd round pick, and we're gonna have to pay it. Doesn't matter.
I know we're talking about free agency, but the popular thing to do now with Antonio Brown is kind of be like, the Steelers or the Raiders just traded away a 3rd and a 5th for a 31-year-old receiver who quit on his team last year. And he caught 15 touchdowns last year.
Quit on his team. It's my favorite. Those are the same people who say he should quit on his team are the same people who think that you should take a hometown discount because think that Adam Thielen shouldn't sign an extension because it's better for the team.
And Tom Brady's a leader because he shouts and gets in arguments and his teammates faces on the sideline.
Odell Beckham is a problem child and that has to be fixed. Yeah, dude, it's crazy to me. I can't. The most frustrating part about the quit on the team stuff is that when it's convenient for the fan, then I'm all about the player. But when it's not convenient for the fan, it's your team.
He should take less money.
Yeah, he should take less money, or he should just shut his mouth and play. Those are my favorites. It's I don't know why he's complaining. It's
because the team couldn't just cut him in a second.
Yeah, dude. I said it before. I am more in awe of how well he played it. He wanted to get out. He threw a big fit. People looked at him funny. They were like, I don't know about this. ESPN is why this is not very big. Boom, out of town, screwed the team that he came from, showed everybody the middle finger on the way out, and is now right where he wants to be.
Which is also funny because
Ian got a $30 million raise.
Yeah, the ESPN people also cover the NBA, who have players that do this all the time.
All the time.
And they're all like, oh, he's just trying to get his money and he's just trying to set himself up, for his future and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, an NFL player does it. It's like, oh, he's a cancer and, he's all about himself.
Yeah, not a team guy. Not a team guy.
Oh, okay. Why can't NFL players do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Their livelihood is more at risk in their sport than for an NBA player.
And honestly, if you're looking at numbers on the whole thing, the majority of guys who go into the NFL get chewed up and spit out and aren't cajillionaires anyway. So the guys who can make that money are going to hold out and throw a fit until they get that money. And oh, by the way, the people who own these teams, billionaires.
Oh yeah,
billionaires. Pay them.
Well, they don't want to pay for stadiums, so why would they want to pay for players?
Yeah, dude, that whole thing. Okay, so in Minnesota, it was they needed a new stadium. They were going to move, they said, to LA if we didn't
Oh,
pay
yeah.
for the
I remember
stadium. Yes. And so the stadium got paid for, taxes, blah, blah, blah. It's all still getting paid for. You guys in your city were like,
Owner was like,
bleep off.
we're not going to pay anything.
Yeah, we're not going to do that at all. And now they're gone. Do you feel as a, not that you're like a fan, like necessarily a Chargers fan, but do you feel proud of your community for standing up to a billionaire and being like, F off, man, go get lost?
Yeah.
It's
I do, because they have all this money. It's your team.
Yeah, man.
It's not like it's, why everyone in the city doesn't like football.
That's
like
exactly.
a lot of people do, but
That's
you want
my
money from everyone in the city. So that's saying that everyone supports this, sport.
And that's totally inaccurate. It does not.
No.
And then they always do it'll create more jobs. No, it bleeping doesn't. It does not create enough jobs for you to even. No, and not jobs for you to mention it. Those aren't the type of jobs we're talking about when we're talking about
like
job creation.
Jobs for high schoolers who can like serve hot dogs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Jobs for like moms and grandmas who are here because they're doing a booster thing for their kids, like football program.
They're not good. It's not like you're creating a business for like
totally. These are not careers that we're talking about. These
No.
are people. Yeah.
I did find out though today that Petco Park, they stopped building it for like 3 or 4 years because somebody sued the city or whatever.
Because they're like, you can't make me
just
pay
like,
for this.
Well, it was like about like building condominiums or whatever. I don't know. Some guy explained it to me, but I forgot. But
That's
like
crazy.
just
halted
it
construction.
sat there for like 3 or 4 years. I was
Half
like,
done.
What?
That's amazing, dude. Yeah, it's shocking that billionaires can get cities to pay for their stadiums. It's amazing.
Well,
and that always to me is I'm so torn because I personally like the stuff that goes on in that stadium, so I will happily pay that tax because I enjoy that. But if you don't want that, I can't. I don't.
The
have
Vikings
a good argument.
owners did fork over like $675 million, so they still put in a bunch of money to this.
It honestly was not. If you compare it to the
it
other
really is a
stadium
good investment
deals,
because they're going to have the Final Four there now. They have, you have all your state football stuff
Super
there.
Bowl last year, Final Four this year, X Games this summer again. All
Bunch
kinds
of
of fun things. Yep.
Not WrestleMania though.
No,
Never going to get that.
No.
Because guess what? It's a Minnesota excuse. It's too cold.
It's too cold, and there's no
Too
reason.
much of a risk in April.
Yep, there's no reason for people to go. That March
SummerSlam
Madness,
though, right?
Yeah, SummerSlam would be
They
cool.
should
Why
try
can't
and
we
do
have,
that.
why can't we have a SummerSlam? I'd be into that. Maybe we have, and I just don't know that.
But they do that. They do that in Brooklyn's like their SummerSlam place. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
they'd have to fix that. But they should have something there. It's like
Brooklyn or Minneapolis. We're gonna
one
go.
smells better.
Yeah, that's true. We do. That's true. All right, back to free agents. Danny Amendola to Detroit. Is Detroit very quietly kind of building something? Or
They are spending way too much money on
way
nobody.
too much money on old guys who aren't going to be. Or I
Well,
shouldn't say old, but
I was thinking today. Well, they got a bunch of like former Patriots because of Patricia or whatever.
Shocking.
But I was thinking, oh, it's great. The Lions are spending all this money and adding these new players, but Matt Patricia's still the head coach. So
He sure is.
What are you going to do about that? Can't.
Well, we're just going to sit up straight when we ask our questions and hope
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
can get through the process together, Adam.
Because I was like,
That's all we can do.
cool, they're signing all these players, but they still have the same head coach. So
Yeah, I'm just not sure about him. What do you feel as far as the offensive line is concerned? Obviously the Vikings don't have enough money to like even try.
also, the
to
Lions
get these
replaced
dudes,
Golden Tate with Danny Amendola.
Yeah, it's not. That's not the upgrade meme we're used to seeing. Those are different things. Offensive line, Trent Brown. He's going to be the highest paid offensive lineman ever.
Sure. With the Raiders, right?
Yeah, yep. And honestly, this was, to me, I was like, who?
Right.
And I
Right.
was like, I'm so glad the Vikings aren't spending this money on these guys because this is going to be another, because you know who else? I was like, who? Reef, Remmers, when that was going to fix everything. Of course it didn't fix everything, Adam. Of course.
Because all-pro offensive linemen are never available on the free agent market.
They just
because
aren't.
they stay with their team or they get traded.
Also, part of that little sidebar question to that: do you think that part of the reason Kirk Cousins was available last year is maybe because are we seeing? Did Washington see some things that we didn't see? Did we overpay for a free agent last year? Yeah, you're right. They did. Yes, and he said no because, thank you. That's all I needed. Yep.
They tried to spin it like they didn't want him, but they tried. They wanted to keep him, and he was like, "Nah, I don't think so."
100%.
Also, they just gave a safety $84 million today.
Can't afford Kirk. It's just too much.
Can't give it to him, but can give it to a safety.
That seems to be a very common talking point right now for people who are maybe not frustrated, but people who want the Vikings to be active, people who want them to be fixing the offensive line.
You should take a pay cut.
Yeah, like that's like do you see this as that's the going rate for a quarterback, and this is what we had to pay, and what would you do if they didn't have a quarterback right now? And what are your options? It'd be Case Keenum. It'd be Nick Foles. It'd be Blake Bortles in a minute because Nick Foles is now there and Blake Bortles is going to get... I mean...
Eddie?
You had to, right? Or you'd be trying to draft one at 18.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
They made the best decision when, they had the choices they had to make. They made the best decision.
I'm starting to really become frustrated with... You cannot bring up Kirk Cousins without either mentioning the number guaranteed on his contract or how poorly he played or that he was the reason. It's like there's always a caveat. It's like Kirk Cousins who...
Well, we can look at it this way too. If they kept Keenum and paid him like $20 million a year, they would still only have like 10 to 15 million in cap space this year.
Yeah.
So it's not like they would have a ton more if they didn't sign Cousins. The way they've been setting up their roster with all these extensions is to win like last year or the year before, and it just didn't work out. So now they have to figure out a different way to go about it.
And I don't think people want to hear this because I think when they signed Kirk Cousins, the assumption was we got the best quarterback available. He's going to be like Aaron Rodgers. But I think part of what makes Kirk Cousins a good fit here is that he's built to just win games like that. He is like an upgraded version of Case Keenum.
He's probably in the middle of like a game manager and someone who can put the team on his back. He's not as bad as a game manager where like you just need him not to like mess
Turn
up
the ball over.
But he's not as good where he can't put a team on his back and win the whole game.
Yeah, I guess my biggest complaint, if there are any for Kirk Cousins this whole season, was just that they didn't win the big games. And I don't even think that's a complaint on Kirk Cousins necessarily. They just didn't win the big games.
It was a total team effort in those situations. There was a number of games that they were in with him. So, I'm still here. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Sorry, I kind of lost you there. Glad you're still here. Glad you're here. Good you see it, though? Did I look like I lost you? Okay. Any other free agency? I haven't seen anything break. See, I assumed that we were going to hop on and it was just going to be like bing, bang, boom. This one popped up.
Honey Badger signed with the Chiefs for big money. I think like $40 million.
Yep, $42 million, 3 years.
Deshaun Jackson got traded to the Eagles.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that. I'm reading that now. What do you think about Suggs in Arizona? Nice place to retire. That's a fun joke to say.
Well, he's
old.
Well, he went to Arizona State too.
Yeah, but it's more fun to say he's retiring and going to Arizona.
And he's from Minnesota, isn't he? I think he is.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he went to high school in Minnesota.
Shut. I can't.
Yeah, he did.
No, there's no way that I don't know that he's one of us.
Yeah.
Suggs?
Yeah.
I'm going to be so embarrassed if he is from Minnesota. Oh, my God. It says it's Minnesota right here.
Yeah.
Shut the front door.
Him and Larry. Together again.
Sorry. I got to look this up. I can't believe this. How did this slip past me? Early years. Minneapolis? What the? Amateur.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm from here, and I didn't know that he was from here. St. Paul? What?
Oh, wow.
With Joe Mauer? Oh,
Wow.
God.
You didn't know that?
I had no idea, Adam. How are you, California guy?
Turn in your fan card. I don't know.
Ew. I have an UFDA cup, and I didn't know that he was from Minnesota. Come on. What a joke. How did I not know that?
Yeah. There were, I think, Adam Humphries, receiver, signed with the the Titans. He used to be with the Bucks. Jameson Crowder signed with the Jets. Looks like Anthony Barr is probably going to go to the Jets and get a lot of money.
A lot of money. I'm excited to see what that number is.
Yeah, probably more than like 15 or 16 million a year.
I think you're right.
So people are like, oh, the Vikings can re-sign him. No. The good thing is Sheldon Richardson hasn't been popping up as like so-and-so is interested
towards other
in Sheldon
team.
Richardson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sounds from everything that it sounds, he likes Minnesota, he likes the coaching staff, he wants to come back. Just everything has to be worked out.
We don't have a breaking news sounder, but it looks like Shamar Stephen.
Yeah.
3-year deal.
Oh,
back with the Vikings. According to Dan Graziano from ESPN. Defensive tackle Shamar Stephen plans to sign a 3-year deal with the Vikings. That's at 7:09 p.m. You heard it here first on Twitter, and then next from us about 4 or 5 minutes later.
And Randy Moss's brother died.
Oh, man. Wah, wah, wah.
Eric Moss. I think he used to play for the Vikings, actually.
Oh, really?
Yep.
How did I not... Dude, I don't know anything right now. Why am I even on a podcast? Randy Moss is a brother? What? Terrell Suggs is from St. Paul? What? What am I even doing with my life? My God.
Also, for the people that are still mad about Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum got traded this week.
Oh, yes, he did.
Had to take a big pay cut.
He did. He didn't play very well last year. Shocking.
Yeah,
and now he's in Washington.
Yeah.
What do you think they are going to do with that whole scenario? Is he the starter? Do you have... Because here's another fun thing that I got to read was he's going to battle with Colt McCoy to be the starter.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well, that's the guy people wanted.
That's thrilling stuff.
But I also saw a fun scenario where they were going to use him as a trade package to trade for Josh Rosen.
Yes, this is my favorite conspiracy theory that I've heard
because
all week.
Kingsbury and Keenum work together in Houston, so they got that friendship. So but yeah, the Vikings made the right decision. It was proven once again by this deal.
I would agree with you there. What did he wind up getting traded for? Was it like a sixth? Or no, they traded for the what was the exchange? Was it a 6th round pick or what?
So,
because who got moved for? Oh, and then it was the offensive lineman. Oh, dude,
yeah, it was a late round pick.
Yeah, so Keenum.
And then he had to take a pay cut.
If you were going into this season at the Vikings and your quarterback options were Colt McCoy and Case Keenum, how many games do you think they would?
And they had to battle it out.
Had to battle it out, and you had no idea who was going to
start.
start.
Well, that's like before they got Favre.
Just those two guys with it is. It's
before they got Favre when it was like Tavares Jackson versus Sage Rosenfels. Like that was the winner of that.
That's the good stuff. What was the other one? Matt Castle or Josh Freeman? Woo! God, that's good, dude. You gotta love football to watch that.
During like the mid 2000s, they had some real bad quarterbacks, like Kelly Holcomb and like Brooks Bollinger and stuff like that. Gus Frerotte was a starter for a while.
Yeah, was like Gus Frerotte was like
a
breath of fresh air. At that point. Bounce pass McNabb made an appearance, which is still to this day like one of my
I had a McNabb jersey.
It's like a dream. It's like it didn't really happen. I have to remind myself that, oh my God, Donovan McNabb played here, and it was the worst. The worst.
It was pretty bad.
Oh.
When you get benched for Christian Ponder, it's probably not a good sign for the rest of your career.
That was ugly. Yeah, Christian Ponder, he also goes in that group. Colt McCoy, Case Keenum. Glad we got Kirk Cousins. That makes me feel better. That's a good way to do it. Anytime that we're feeling like, that season was a little bit of a disappointment.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, you could have Colt McCoy and Case Keenum battling it.
Case Keenum is a winner. Okay, he's a winner. He put that team on his back, and they carried them to the NFC Championship.
Case Keenum, I'm over it.
He's a great guy. Okay?
He is a great guy.
Good guy.
Winner is that's tough. I don't know if I could call him that.
But you have one good season in your whole career that doesn't make me feel too good about you.
Mm-mm. And did you know he's only played, of his entire career, he has been here for like 11% of the time.
So now he's going to Washington, which is like a quarterback graveyard. So good luck with that.
I like him. I think he seems like a very nice man. But I don't want him to play quarterback.
He was working out with B-Rob the other day.
Oh, yeah. I bet that'd be a fun room to hang out in.
Yeah.
Man.
Down
Case
Texas.
Keenum. Oh. Let's talk about I bet that was really loud. I'm sorry. Let's talk about, next time I'm not going to clap into the microphone. Let's talk a little bit about, because it's been so long, Adam, I felt the need to bring him up. Teddy Bridgewater, what's the best play for him? Where should he go? Do you think New Orleans is the best spot? Do you think he should go somewhere? And what are we
I saw something today. If he doesn't sign with Miami, then he's probably going to go back to New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Be Drew Brees back up, which I guess is fine. I mean, he's going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty good team to be on.
If you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah,
good team.
I mean, it doesn't hurt his stock if he goes back to the Saints. He can still, like, when he becomes a free agent again, teams are still going to be like, oh, he might be pretty good. Like, he's been sitting behind Drew Brees for all these years, and let's give him some money.
I'm wondering when that is going to change, because
people are finally going to forget like his injury and be like, oh, he's been around. He's fine.
2 or 3 years removed from him playing good football at any point. Like the last 2 times he's been in football games, he's not looked very good at all. And like I wonder when that will start to tick, where it's like, we're maybe not sure on Teddy. But because right now people still seem very.
Trying to think who
not very
he
interested.
would kind of be like, maybe like, remember Matt Flynn?
Yeah.
He had like one good game entire career, and then he got so much money from the Seahawks.
So much money, and then they drafted Russell Wilson, so he never even got a chance to to suck and be bad. They just were like, he's the guy. Like
guys like Chase Daniel and
Chase Daniel,
Brian Mallett.
Oh, that's a great one.
Rob Johnson. Remember him?
No.
Bills got him. He's the guy that they played over Flutie.
Who was the Reich? Frank Reich. That was the guy I was trying to
That was
to.
Jim Kelly's backup.
I mean, that was a long time ago, but there's a guy. I like
Frank
Reich.
But he didn't. He stayed in Buffalo.
Let's not get into details about it. It's Frank Reich.
There's been a whole
he was in Green Bay for a long time too, wasn't he? Frank Reich. I think at the end of his career.
Maybe he might have.
Let's see where Frank Reich played. I'm just learning all kinds of stuff on the podcast today, so thank you, Wikipedia and Adam Patrick, for schooling me on all these different things. Frank Reich playing career. Searching for stuff on the internet via podcast. This is high-quality audio. Thanks for listening. By the way, everybody, subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Twitter at Bleeding Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at TylerHaig _. Follow Adam at STR number 8 _cash _ homie.
Yeah.
The first time you were ever on this podcast, when I had you as a guest, I said the letter 8 instead of
the letter.
I did, and I played it over and over. I was like mortified. Of course, nobody heard it, and you didn't. You were there. You didn't even notice it.
No.
But that was the thing that happened early on. I played it over and over and over. It was so stupid. Was he just never? Nope, was never in Green Bay.
Just Buffalo.
Yep. Buffalo, Carolina 95, New York Jets 96, Detroit 97, 98. Maybe Detroit is the backup role that I'm thinking of him. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think it
exciting to talk about Frank Reich.
I might quit the podcast. I don't know anything about football. I didn't know that Terrell Suggs was from here. I'm lost, man. I'm lost.
What do we think about Mr. Holden Hill? Are we worried?
I did a little bit of research on this. Not a ton of research, but a little bit of research. Because the thing that was confusing to me was they like were executing a search warrant basically for the joint, which means either they had
For the smell.
yeah, well, and that was what it was there were people like they just were smoking a lot in the apartment, smoking a lot enough where the cops were like, we're going to come in because you're obviously smoking.
Are you familiar with like the neighborhood that they were living in?
No, it's in Mendota Heights, which is
that like a snooty kind of?
It's or I wouldn't say
just not a lot of crime goes on there, so police are just looking for something to do.
Yes, it is a very white, very suburban, right next to Egan, where the TCO so it's in the suburban world over there. So yes, definitely they were in an apartment building with a bunch of people who were like.
But are we crazy to think that Holton Hill, who was in the same apartment as Rock Thomas, when they found all the weed or whatever,
when the police were like, "We're coming in because we have probable cause,"
because it smells,
yeah,
because you guys are just hanging out. Well, because Rock Thomas is just sitting there smoking, and Holton Hill, who's been suspended in the past multiple times for failed positive drug tests,
kicked off of
including
his
at the
college
combine
football team. Yes,
at the combine, he tested positive.
The reason they have him on the football team is because he was undrafted.
Holton Hill's just sitting there twiddling his thumbs as Rock Thomas is just smoking away.
You know, and I bet Holton Hill that whole time was like, "Dude, we probably shouldn't be doing."
I love when I
take part in that. But
when I posted this stuff or the article or whatever that looked into like, oh, it's the initials HGH, not HGH, HJH, and then Holton Hill's birthday, which is kind of a dead giveaway of who it was.
It's I'm not a detective, but it gets us really close.
With a Vikings player.
Yeah, at a Vikings player's house.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, you don't know it was him." It didn't say his full name. It's like, yeah, okay. But people are like, "Why are you doing it? He wasn't charged or anything. You're destroying his reputation." I'm like, "I'm destroying his reputation."
Yeah, give me a break. I love people. The defending players, period, doesn't make any sense because there's no real reason to, because it's not benefiting anybody.
Yeah,
the only
person
it's
a non-story. I'm like, he's on the Vikings. It's
totally a story. It is like the definition of a story.
Who's been in trouble with that stuff in the past?
Yes,
which I don't think players should get in trouble for that. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Yes, that's a separate conversation altogether. And I'm totally on board with that. I think the whole idea, and also that Rock Thomas caught a felony for that. Get the bleep out of here! Like, that's obscene for some weed.
Well,
what? I mean, granted, there's a lot of weed in there.
He would have gotten actually. I think he would have gotten charged in California if he was caught with that much too.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a lot. He had a lot.
Yeah. And then like a ton of cash.
But I don't doubt that.
I
also don't doubt that it wasn't for personal use.
Mm-mm. I bet it was. That was my first thought. Was when I was like,
because players don't want painkillers shoved down their throats. Like, and concussions is supposed to help with concussions. 100%. Supposed to help a lot. Pain tolerance and all that stuff. So
and dude caught a felony for it, and now he's going to have to plead guilty, lose his job, lose his career.
And
all he wants is to just not hurt anymore.
Yeah, people want like the NFL to stop testing for it, but it's kind of a slippery slope. Like they can't. There's only like 7 states where it's legal recreationally, so it's very hard for the NFL to be like, oh, you guys can smoke, but you might get arrested.
Totally. Yeah, or to be we're going to raid your plane because we're hearing that all these NFL guys have weed on them, so that's illegal here. We're going to take your plane apart and take all the weed off of it and charge these guys. Not a good look for.
Well, you won't get suspended.
Yeah, but it's cool because it's thanks to the CBA.
But
no suspensions here.
It is very lax because I know I think the first time you get caught, you don't get suspension or fine or anything. You just get they test you a couple times a week. You have to pass those, and then second, all these offenses, it builds up and up and up. So it's getting better than it was, and I'm sure it'll get more lax.
And this is the other thing we need to keep in mind is they don't release all this stuff. So when you see guys who are being punished out in the open and media release punished, they they've had a long time to stop doing things that were going to get them in trouble. And that's why we take it when it's reported like this. It's a huge deal because they've already gone 3 strikes, basically.
Yeah, people think Josh Gordon smoked like once and he got suspended for a year.
That is not. He's the best example because that's when he. Yes, and every single time after that, it's one failed test and you're in trouble again. That doesn't just happen. That happens over a long period of time.
He's not going to get drug tested. Holton Hill's not going to get drug tested because, they only do it like once during the off season. I'm like, you don't think he's under like strict like watchful eye? Like he might even already be in a program based on what he did in college.
That's what I was just going to say was he failed the scouting combine pro. He was in the program before he even got to a program. He was like in a program before anybody even like.
The Vikings can test whenever they want.
Yeah,
it's their player.
It's correct to say that there may not be a forthcoming suspension because there is a little bit of legal limbo there where he wasn't charged with anything, and although he was there, and that doesn't look super sure. Like he might not be suspended, maybe, but to say that this is not a story or not something worth mentioning.
Incorrect. People think the Rock Thomas part of the story, but the Holton Hill stuff, they're like,
that's
leave
what
him
I'm
alone. He didn't even get charged.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but he was there.
Story. That is news. That is like 100% what we're supposed to be.
I'm not trying to destroy his reputation. I'm not doing anything to his reputation. I'm not the one who was suspended multiple times in college for a substance that me and you both believe he shouldn't be suspended for.
Yes.
But it violates the rules, and he suspended it. He was suspended.
And people say it like you're like destroying his credibility, like you're like taking pictures of him cheating on his wife and like posting that on the internet. It's like, nah, dude, it was a police report. That's exactly like it was released, and I read it and I wrote about it. Like that's, like drives me crazy. Like, yeah, dude, we heard about you gallivanting with ladies, Rock Thomas, and I'm gonna tell your wife and mother and grandmother.
I got so much hate for it.
Yeah, you really did. I was impressed with the amount of hate you got on that one.
And I was just like,
sometimes,
thanks for reading.
Yeah, sometimes you have posts where I'm like, oh, he's going to get a lot of hate for that. And you do. But that one, I couldn't believe that people were like upset that you.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, the majority of people were like, he's an idiot. So,
yeah.
Like, why would you put yourself in that situation, which is correct.
Yeah, you can't really argue.
Like, as soon as like, maybe Rock Thomas is going to sit there and smoke, maybe remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah, I mean, because usually in these situations, what I always wind up saying to myself is like, just go home and do it at home. I think he was totally doing it at home. So maybe like crack a window or something, or get like. Well,
I think he went on vacation.
Burn some incense or something.
People were also saying like he's not even in the U.S. So how could he be there? And I'm like, this happened in January.
Yeah, it's like I don't know his exact whereabouts at this moment. I'm just referencing the Mendota Heights Police Department and what they wrote down. I'm not making it up. I don't know what to tell you.
It is pretty crappy that people are still getting arrested or whatever for a plant.
Yeah, I feel bad for Rock Thomas because that
kills 1,000% less people than beer.
Yeah. You know, that's honestly my favorite thing to quote when people are asking about that. I used to work at a record store, and it was kind of in a rough neighborhood. We would have a cop that would like stand by the door and just make sure everything was like cool. And I asked him one day because he laughed when we were discussing the legality of those things. And he's like, I could arrest half of the staff at this record store right now. I was like, yes, you could. And he said to me, I've never been called to a domestic disturbance where weed was involved. He's like, I just have never had one of those calls. He's like, I can count thousands and thousands and thousands where there was alcohol.
We're having a pillow fight over here. He hit me too hard.
And now he just won't stop laughing, and we don't know what to do.
He tried to make me eat this burrito, and I didn't want to.
And it got really weird, and then I got tired, and now he's sleeping.
I think I commented on, like, after it was posted that Rock Thomas was like caught with weed or whatever. I was like, oh no, maybe he might go to Taco Bell and order the whole menu.
It's the best PSA ever that I've ever seen was a kid being like, weed is stupid because all my friends do is just sit here on a couch. It's so boring. And I was like, that's the way to attack it because that is actually what happens. Nobody hits a small child on a bike or anything.
It's a gateway drug. Because after you do weed, then the next thing you do is heroin. So
I've never done heroin, so that has nothing to do with this story because I'm not going to incriminate myself in any way because I don't know
you should probably keep it that way.
What's listening or any of that. So it's cool. Good on you for good luck, Rock Thomas. We'll end like that. Good luck, Rock Thomas. I'm very sorry that that's the way things worked out for you. Holton Hill, got to be a little bit smarter, bud.
Yeah.
Do you have any? We've been going 55 minutes already. Do you have any closing remarks or anything else that you would like to mention?
Well, it was kind of like what we were talking before with Antonio Brown. I think this might be the unpopular opinion, but he kind of set the tone for like what the future of the NFL is probably going to look like, where players have a lot more say where they want to go, how much they want to be paid and stuff. And if they don't get their way, then they're just going to be like, fine, then I won't play. Because they get paid so much money, they can sit out a year, and it doesn't really affect them. And it hurts the team more than it hurts them.
That's the biggest thing, I think.
So
it winds up hurting
a player's
going
to take a year off to heal their body. They don't care. So, I think what he did is kind of monumental. It's not really anything that's ever been done successfully before.
That's exactly
right. Players have tried in the past, but for a player like his caliber, in his career to do it successfully, I think, it tells you a lot about where the future of the NFL is going. So.
Definitely. And to go where he wanted to go and to get out when he wanted to get out and to get paid the amount he wanted to get paid, I think you nailed it. It's totally monumental. And to me was so impressive. I'm not saying that I enjoyed watching it happen or that
it was
I'm
so
a big
annoying.
fan of, it was
but he got his way.
Yeah, he needed to do what he needed to do, and he made it happen. It worked. He got everything that he needed. And, yeah, like you said, I think it is monumental because I think that between Cousins getting guaranteed money, fully guaranteed money, and him being able to do that, it's pretty obvious at this point that there's a shift happening, that these guys are starting to watch how NBA players and I guess to a lesser extent some of the other sports, but NBA players are the best example of I want to be here and I'm going.
Yeah. Guess who's really good friends with Antonio Brown? Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
And he got himself out of Minnesota.
So. Oh, he can get himself out of anywhere. He doesn't. He can do whatever he wants. Honestly, though, part of me likes that because for so long in this country, professional sports were always the millionaire, billionaire owners dictating everything to the players and not giving them anything and colluding to keep money away from them. And now you get a situation where, and you might dislike the way he went about it, but now you got a player who totally, I don't want to say scammed, but
Flip the script.
Yeah, dude, flip the script on a very successful franchise. And good on you, dude, because I think that also, here's my closing statement. Pittsburgh's done. Pittsburgh's done so. The formula that they had up to this point, and I don't know if I didn't realize this until over the weekend, all of the guaranteed money that they give out to contracts for players, all of it happens in the first year. This made sense previously because you could load a guy up, $16 million, $17 million, hurts your cap today, can cut you at any point going forward. They lost two of the best players in the NFL because they would not budge off of that thing. Yep. That was why was Le'Veon Bell pissed? I want more than $17 million. We can't afford more than that for the first year of this contract. No, I want it over the long term. No, that's not our policy here. Well,
they'll give it to Big Ben, actually.
Probably now. They don't have anybody else to go. But it's amazing to me that a team could get away still in this day and age, could still get away with operating in such team-friendly contracts, and because of their success, still be able to not lure great free agents, but that was a lot of people consider that the model franchise.
Pittsburgh,
kind of screwing their players.
I think they'll still be able to recover it. I think they'll be able to recover or whatever. They run a pretty good system with that franchise. They have for a long time.
Stability is so important.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to think about a quarterback pretty soon. Big Ben's getting up there, and he's not playing the greatest of his career.
Definitely.
And now he lost his top receiver. Mm-hmm. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is pretty good, but he's not Antonio Brown. No. And now they don't have Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah. It's going to be tough for them. I don't want to say tough for them to move the ball, but that offense is going to look...
They're still going to be like a 10-win team.
Well, yeah, because they play in the... Stupid AFC drives me nuts. Drives me nuts.
Hey, the Bills play in the AFC. Why aren't they better?
Because they're one of the bad teams, dude.
Why didn't
Everybody
Antonio
beats
Brown
them.
want to go to the Bills? They have Josh Allen. He would have gotten like 2 catches a game.
Would you? Well, you're kind of from there, so yeah, you would have accepted a trade to Buffalo. I thought if I was a Bills fan, I would be so hurt.
No, I wouldn't. I'll piss people off for this too. All the people that were like, "Oh, everyone's shitting on Buffalo because Antonio Brown's going there." I'm like,
yeah, man,
yeah, because Buffalo sucks.
It's cold and it snows and it's terrible. And
It's like the worst big city probably in America. Smells like cereal because they have General Mills factory there.
Brutal.
Whatever.
I have one of those in my neighborhood and I hate it. I hate
All their
that
teams
smell.
suck.
I hate it.
Sabres suck. Bills suck. Like all you can do there is drink. It snows so much.
Mm-hmm.
They have good chicken wings.
Yeah, can't argue with the chicken wings. Thank you for the chicken wings, Buffalo.
Let's not. But like all the people that are like defending, oh, Buffalo's a great city, and I'm like, you've probably been there like once when you got off a plane and had like a
stay there for
layover.
more than a month, you will not say it's awesome.
Nah. There's good
I've
people
never
in
been.
Buffalo.
I can't talk. I've never
There's
been.
good. There's good people in Buffalo and stuff, but let's not act like it's this great city.
Or that he's a huge jerk for being like.
People are like, "Oh, it's
I'm
just
good.
like Pittsburgh," and I'm like, "No, it's,
No, it's not. It's not like Pittsburgh.
They filmed Batman in Pittsburgh. They're not filming Batman in Buffalo. Okay, that's not.
Oh, the new Christopher Nolan Batman. Where are you gonna do it? Buffalo.
Yeah. Oh. Is someone is like? Is it the apocalypse?
Yeah, is it? A lot of tundra, a lot of winter scenes. I don't. It's very.
But
strange.
yeah, well, that. Okay, I'll give people that. They're like, "Oh, everyone's saying it's so cold in Buffalo." Yeah, it snows everywhere. It's Green Bay. It snows and like Pittsburgh. It snows and stuff. So that's not a big deal. But it's not like people don't go to Buffalo if you're Antonio Brown. Like,
I think
I want to spend my career in Buffalo.
That's the way you have to look at it. Is how many people go there on vacation, and if the answer is not very many,
People don't even go to Buffalo. They go to Niagara Falls.
That's what I'm saying. And so they not very many people. And I love Minneapolis. I live here. There's a reason this is called flyover country. It's because people don't take vacations.
At least people go to the lakes. in
Yeah, that's
Minnesota.
true. We do have pretty lakes.
So for like the 1 month of the year that it's not snowing, but
shame on you. That was a mean thing to say.
well, hey, you know what? It's gonna be a brisk 80 this weekend. So
Hey, it's going to be 40 tomorrow. Or Wednesday, excuse me. Not tomorrow. It's going to be 40
cool.
degrees on Wednesday.
All that snow is gonna melt, and then it'll freeze back up on the roads.
Yes,
from
it will.
blackouts.
And if it doesn't freeze, it'll just flood everything because there's too much
Yep.
snow everywhere. And
Don't miss that at all. Don't miss it at all.
Yep, should be great. All right, but see you next week.
Yeah.
Skol Vikes.
And have some more actual news.
What?
Like actual new people. The Vikings.
Oh, yeah, maybe we will.
Remember
I
this
thought
is
you
a
were
Vikings
breaking
podcast?
news right now. I was like, well, let me stop the music. Okay, yes.
No.
Hopefully next week we will have more news to discuss.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Skol Vikes. Later, bud.